Good afternoon. If we can have everyone have a seat, please. We are going to get started. We do want to be mindful of everyone's time, and I know folks are hungry and want to get this tour in, so we're going to get started. So please grab a seat. There are plenty of seats available towards the front and also in the back, so make yourself comfortable. We are all family. So I want to start off by thanking you all for joining us. My name is Magdalena Nichols. I am the Chief Operating Officer here at Jericho Road. And on behalf of our executive team, our board of directors, I want to thank you for joining us today for the public launch of A Path to Hope, the campaign for Jericho Road's Vive Shelter. I'm going to pause there because everybody should be clapping right now. So this campaign will fund the purchase and renovation of a future home for Vive, which is going to be called the Scott Beeler Foundation Vive Shelter, a program of Jericho Road. We are blessed and thankful to have many distinguished guests here today, including members of Jericho Road's Board of Directors, led by Cleta Massey, who is our board chair, and Scott Beeler, our campaign co-chair. I would also like to acknowledge and thank the following people for joining and or sending their respective representatives to join us today. We have Joan Kestner, Western New York Director, who is representing the office of Kathy Hochul, Brian Higgins, Congressman, who is here today, Chantel Thompson, Chief Diversity Officer, who is representing the Mayor's office, representatives from the office of Senator Sean Ryan, representatives from the office of Senator Tim Kennedy, representatives from the office of Majority Leader Crystal Peoples-Stokes, and representatives from Assembly Member Jonathan Rivera, as well as Len Hanahan, who is a former Democratic Committee Chair. Let's pause there and thank them for being here with us. So to begin today's program, I'd like to ask Leroy Wiggins, campus pastor at the Chapel of Cheektowaga, to lead us in an opening prayer.
I'd ask you to clap, but that's probably not what you should be doing, right? So this is like so cool to be here because like I used to live around the corner at 34 Oxford, right around the corner, and we had to move from 34 Oxford because when I was a kid, I set it on fire. Different story. So all I can say is, Scott Beeler, when I go inside, as long as I don't have matches, we're going to be okay. So if you would, let's just take a moment and go before the Lord in prayer. Father, we want to thank you so very much for the day that you have given us. Not a day that you've guaranteed anyone, but the fact that we are here, you've given it to us. We pray that every breath would be for you. So super grateful for all that you have done in the lives of each and every individual who has come through Vive Shelter. You've partnered with Jericho Road for decades and decades to provide hope, a place of freedom, a place of peace. And as this new chapter is entered, Lord, we pray that you would go before us again as we navigate what that looks like to be in this new location. Father, we know that all that you have given us, our time, our talent, and our treasure, they all belong to you. So as we're here today, we ask that you would move and motivate us to partner with you to continue that mission of providing hope to the marginalized around the world as they seek a new life, Father. So we're just grateful to be here today and look forward to all that you plan to do. Father, we love you, we thank you, and we praise you. In Jesus' holy and precious name, amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Leroy. Today is an important day for Jericho Road and our mission to serve the underserved and marginalized communities here in Buffalo and across the world in order to demonstrate the unconditional love of Jesus. Vive honors that mission. At this time, I'd like to introduce Scott Beeler, the president and CEO of Western Auto Group, a faithful ally of Jericho Road's work and the co-chair for this campaign. In addition to his support for this capital campaign, Scott's civic efforts have been recognized numerous times. He received the Theodore Roosevelt Inaugural Site Foundation's Exemplary Citizenship Award, has been named an Outstanding Citizen by the Buffalo News, among other honors. Scott is the vice chair of the Roswell Park Alliance Foundation Board, Board of Directors for Damon College, and a member of the Greater Buffalo Racial Equity Roundtable. He serves on the Upstate New York Federal Reserve Regional Advisory Board for 5 years and served on the boards of the Buffalo Zoo, Buffalo Niagara Partnership, and Hilbert College. We are blessed to have Scott's support for this campaign, and most importantly, we're blessed to call him a friend. Scott Beeler.
Good afternoon and welcome, everyone. I'm so pleased to have this kind of a turnout. Very rewarding that when you put an event on like this and you get this many people that give your time and efforts and thoughts to us today. Vive is the largest asylum-seeking shelter in the nation and a program of Jericho Road Community Health Center. I'll say more in a minute, but there's a special thank you to a few people I just have to mention since I've been involved in acquiring this building. Three people especially, Dr. Glick, Maggie, and Mark Herskine, put hours and hours and weeks and weeks and months into this project to find the right place, to create enough funding so that they could purchase it and to be standing here right now. So their team helped, obviously. They have a great team underneath them, and they were a big part of it as well. But I just would like to thank those three, and specifically just for what they've done, because without those three, we wouldn't be here today. So. I also want to thank the boards of Jericho Road and Vive and Bristol Manor, because the transition of ownership from Bristol Manor to Vive went very smoothly, respectfully on both sides, with everybody having the common goal of having this happen. So for those boards that were involved in that, thank you. A friend of mine in the audience is here today, Joe Deck. I went to a meeting about the new Vive shelter, what they wanted to do. There was talk of remodeling the Wyoming Street facility. There was talk of some vacant land that would be donated, but it was really not in the right area. It was too far away from the city of Buffalo. And so I left that meeting with the suggestion, maybe we should just have a third choice. Let's go find another existing building. So my friend Joe Deck, one of the leading commercial, where is he? There he is. He's bashful, he doesn't want to be recognized, but like it or not, that's why I asked you here today. So I met with him and I told him what they were looking for, and I'm not kidding. I mean, this is why this to me is so believably supposed to happen. 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, he calls me about this building. And I knew the first time we walked through it, when I saw Maggie's face and I saw Dr. Glick's face, he was smiling like I've never seen him smile. One walkthrough, and I knew, I think Joe did too, we found the right place. So thank you, Joe, for helping us find this beautiful facility. There couldn't be a better one. I have a lifelong friend named Dave Petrus, so I dragged him down here the first time we went through the building. Dave is a contractor, been a friend since high school. He says, Dave, make sure we should buy this building. Crawl in every corner, crawl in the attic, get on the roof, go in the basement, which he did. And when he left, he kind of gave it his blessings. Yep, that building's going to be there a long time. It's a good building, right? So thank you, Dave, for what your help did. So as you learned today, Vive focuses on providing food, housing, legal services, ESL classes, children's programming, and other supports for asylum seekers arriving from literally all over the world. I was blessed to be introduced to Dr. Glick nearly 20 years ago, and at the time he was starting the first medical center, and it was a former TV station on Barton Street that he was converting into a medical center, room at a time. And I got to meet him, and he showed me the facility, and he said, these 2 rooms need to be examination rooms. So I said, well, we can do that. We'll find a way. In fact, Dave, you helped with that. And we converted 2 rooms to examination rooms, and that was our start of our relationship. But when I got to know him, we stayed in touch, and I was, and I continue to be right up to this moment, in awe of this man. He's not a guy who wants praise, but he's getting it, whether he wants it or not. His commitment and dedication to the most vulnerable and marginalized within our community is just simply overwhelming. He has always done what he always does for all the right reasons. He's not part of personal gain. He's not part about gaining wealth, recognition. He doesn't even want recognition. But he simply wants to improve the life of another human being. That's a pretty pretty special person that can live your life like that, and Mrs. Glick too. Mrs. Glick looks like she's crying. But really, that's what you're all about, and you've helped hundreds and hundreds and thousands, I'm sure, people in your lifetime. There aren't many people in the world like you two, so God bless you both. So I was so inspired about learning the needs of the new Vive shelter and the campaign, and once I saw this, I said, we gotta do more. So Kathy and I talked about it, and we decided to be the lead gift in making sure they could close on the property and own the property. So I can tell you that's one of the most rewarding things we'll ever do in our lives, to be part of this. So we're incredibly grateful for all of those that have already invested, and hope that you'll be inspired to consider a gift so that Dr. Glick and his team can continue to do the amazing work that they do and make this vision of this building everything it can be. 56 rooms in there. Families are going to have a place to stay that's a true family residence, as opposed to now the school that they stay in now is too many people to a room. It's a cold place. This is so remarkably better. It's just, I can't wait till they're here. So when they get here, there's three main goals they want to accomplish. They want to promote healing for residents with a safer, more comfortable, and more dignified atmosphere. They want to increase residents' privacy and keep family units all together. And they want to improve infrastructure to be more reliable and efficient. So I'm going to leave you with an excerpt, and it's called "What Will Matter?" And I have this on my desk. It's framed on my desk. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'll just read the most meaningful part of it. And then I'm done, Maggie, so this is it. So what will matter? How will the value of your days be measured? What will matter is not what you bought, but what you built. Not what you got, but what you gave. What will matter is not your success, but your significance. What will matter is not what you learned, but what you taught. What will matter is every act of integrity, compassion, courage, and sacrifice that enriched and empowered or encouraged others to emulate your example. What will matter is not your competence, but your character. What will matter is not how many people knew you, but how many will feel a lasting loss when you're gone. What will matter is not your memories, but the memories of those who loved you. What will matter is how long you will be remembered, by whom and for what. Living a life that matters doesn't happen by accident. It's not a matter of circumstance, but of choice. Choose your life, choose to live a life that matters. God bless Jericho Road, Vive, all of our refugees, and all of you here today. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Scott. At this time, I'd like to introduce a few elected officials or their designated representatives who will be coming up to speak. First up, we have Joan Kessner, Western New York Director, representing the Office of Governor Kathy Hochul.
What a beautiful day in Western New York. The weather is awesome. I talked to my daughter in Florida. I think it's 99 degrees. I told her to come back home. So anyway, thank you so much for the invitation to join you here. I'm very honored to represent Governor Kathy Hochul at this event. But before I get into my spiel, there's somebody that deserves a lot of praise here. I've known him for probably 30 years. And everywhere I go, I see his name on buildings and events that are making the difference in lives everywhere. I go to Roswell, his name's on a building. I go everywhere. And that's my friend, longtime friend, Scott Beal, and his wife, Kathy. Let's give him a round of applause for what he does. I always remind him that I think I bought 15 cars, our family, from you when you started out in Hamburg. So maybe with his success, look what he's doing. This is amazing. The governor's so pleased with your efforts, what you're doing here for people, your dedication to serving the most vulnerable population in our community and actually our country and actually our world. VIA represents hope, a new beginning, the very basic need and dignity that every one of us wants. We all want the same things for our family. We want a safe roof over our head. We want food. We want opportunities for our children. And you have opened the doors for so many that have been forgotten and have been abused. So we are so grateful for what you're doing. Every need is addressed, whether it's safety, it's shelter, food, medical care, and legal aid. And today, on behalf of the governor, she thanks you for being a part of this organization, the board members that are here that keeps this boat moving. We're so grateful because it just doesn't happen with one person. Great leadership with Maggie and her team, but to know that the governor's office is here to support your efforts, and we're very grateful for what you do for our community. God bless you all.
Thank you, Joan. At this time, I'd like to introduce our founder and CEO, Dr. Myron Glick. Dr. Glick is a board-certified family physician and graduate of the University of Buffalo School of Medicine. He's the Chief Executive Officer at Jericho Road and co-founder. Dr. Glick.
Good afternoon. Today, in countries like Afghanistan, Ukraine, Colombia, Honduras, Guatemala, the Congo, and a number of other countries, folks are trying to decide if they should stay or flee. For many of these folks, they really don't have an option. Life has become so challenging, and their lives are at risk. And so they make a decision that I can't even really comprehend it. They make a decision to leave all that they know to be home. And they take a huge risk to flee. There's a lot of unknowns. They don't know for sure where they're going to go, where they're going to end up. And they probably recognize that it's a dangerous journey and that their lives are at risk. I've had as a doctor, as a family doctor, taking care of refugees and asylum seekers at Jericho. I've heard so many stories. A couple years ago, I had a chance to sit down with a young man who made the decision to flee from Eritrea at the age of 16. If he stayed, he probably wouldn't be alive. So he made the only choice he had, and that was to flee. And his journey from Eritrea to Buffalo, to Vive, to being a part of the fabric of our community, took him 10 years. He was imprisoned 5 times. He, by foot, walked across the Sinai Desert from South Sudan to Egypt to Israel. When he finally, long journey, ended up paying a smuggler to get him from Ghana to Brazil by airplane. He arrived in Brazil, didn't have any papers and no money, and basically had to walk from Brazil up to our southern border. That journey took him 2 years. Along the way, he faced all kinds of risk. People die all the time on the journey from their former homes to their actual homes. And along the way, so many people suffer, and we see them here at Jericho Road, and we take care of them and provide shelter for them at Vive. I remember a woman I delivered a couple years ago who, on the journey through Mexico, as she was walking with her husband, she was pregnant, and they were accosted by some folks, and she was raped, and she ended up losing the baby. And I had the privilege a couple years later of delivering their baby in this new home. I remember another family who lost 3 children as they were crossing a river between Guatemala and Honduras. The river swept away 3 of their children, and they died. And so, what do we do at Vive? Well, in the essence, the heart of what we do is to love our neighbors by helping them. Again, they've faced incredible injustice. They've risked everything they have. We are helping them find their way back to a home, to some place that is safe for them, whether it be in Canada, whether it be here in Buffalo. I'm grateful for all of you today that are here, that are standing with us. I'm grateful for our elected officials who came or have sent representatives, or in the case of Congressman Brian Higgins, who's stood with us all along these years, who's showed up here in person today to be a part of this. I'm grateful for so many individuals who have supported the work of Vive long before Jericho Road was even involved. People who led the way, who showed the way for us, who opened the door for us to come in. I'm grateful for the folks that are here today, you guys are gonna be a part of the future, of making this actually be something that will be sustainable long term. I hate to say names because so many of you have been helping, but I have to thank Scott Beeler for being a part of this. I remember the day we walked through this building, and what probably struck me the most by that was that he's not that old, but he's getting older, man led us up onto the roof. He climbed a ladder to get to the roof and walk the roof to make sure that this was a building that was worth investing in. I'm also grateful for today for Donna and Dave Ely. They have been fierce advocates for this idea for a long time. And even today, as Donna is fighting literally for her life, she's here. This is the kind of commitment that makes this kind of work special. I've thought about, why is this important? Why is this work that we do is important? Why support it? And I think ultimately, at the end of the day, we are judged as individuals. We're judged as an organization. We're judged as a city. We're judged as a country by how we care for the most vulnerable among us. That's the standard. And, that's why we do this work. But it's also important for the fabric of our city. The people that come through Vive, that choose to stay here, that get their status, that become citizens, these are folks that pay taxes. These are folks whose children go to our public schools. These are folks who buy houses and fix them up and are part of what is Buffalo coming back. This is the story. It's part of the future for our city. The end of the day, I absolutely 100% believe that God especially cares about how the most vulnerable, about how the marginalized, about how the oppressed, how the refugee is treated. It's the heart of God. And so I have no doubt that God is going to be faithful to help us meet this goal. God's going to use people like you, or he's going to find other people. God's going to make this happen because God is faithful to all of us because we care about the people that he cares about most. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Glick. At this time, I'd like to introduce Congressman Brian Higgins to share a few words.
Thank you very, very much. First of all, to Dr. Glick, we communicated quite frequently during the pandemic. Your commitment to those who are suffering is not only inspiring, but it's also a lesson to all of us that when we commit ourselves, as you have, You can see it in your eyes. You can hear it in your voice. And you are a great example of what a humanitarian is. So thank you for all the great work that you do. Scott Beeler, I'm not surprised of his generosity, but I'm always surprised by the powerful force of his humility. One who lives the idea that you're not judged by your words, you're judged by your actions. Scott Beeler, you're a good man, and Buffalo and Western New York is very fortunate to have you. I used to spend a lot of time in the Middle East and in some very, very difficult places. And I visited a place called Jericho, which is in the West Bank. And Jericho Road is about 18-mile descending road that connects Jerusalem with the city, the town of Jericho. Jericho is as old as the beginning of time, and it was a very violent place where people were robbed and robbed of their dignity every single day. Jericho Road is also a metaphor for suffering, and it reminds us that we all suffer on different ways and different days, but we do all suffer. So we all live on Jericho Road at one time or another. One of the most beautiful passages in biblical literature is the story of the Good Samaritan. And it's played out on Jericho Road. It says, despite all of this suffering, despite all of this indignation that humanity exacts on others, we have an obligation to each other and to those who suffer. And in doing so, fulfilling our obligation, that is when we are enriched and enabled. And it calls upon all of us to recognize our responsibilities to humanity, to give comfort to the asylum seeker, and to allow them the care and the dignity that we want for ourselves. It's a calling. Dr. Myron Glick, Scott Beeler, thank you for answering that call on behalf of all of us, those who live in Jericho Road in the Middle East, or those who live on Main Street in Buffalo. We all need leaders like you to show us the way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Congressman. At this time, I'd like to introduce Chantel Thompson, who is the Chief Diversity Officer representing the Office of Buffalo Mayor Byron Brown.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for the invitation to be here today. As Maggie said, I'm Chantel Thompson. I'm the Chief Diversity Officer for the City of Buffalo. That's where I lead the Office of Diversity, Opportunity, and Inclusion. And within that office, we house the Office of New Americans. In behalf of Mayor Byron Brown, I just want to congratulate Dr. Glick, Maggie, the entire Jericho Road and Vive team. We are so incredibly proud and grateful of the work that you're doing here in the city over the last 30 years for refugees and asylum seekers. So thank you so much. The Office of New Americans aims to ensure that Buffalo remains a welcoming city and a preferred resettlement site in the United States. And so in order to accomplish this mission, we have to continue to partner with organizations like Jericho Road. And so we ultimately just want to encourage that public and private partnerships, individuals continue to support this work so that you can continue your mission and to further your reach. And so we just want to quickly say thank you so much, congratulations, and we are here to support however we can.
Thank you, Chantel. They say a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. For many asylum seekers, the journey to safety is one fraught with barriers. Please help me in welcoming Cecil Mongo, whose path to hope led him to Vive, safety, and our community. Cecil.
distinguished gentlemen, ladies, and all the visitors who are here, good afternoon. I was going to read from a script, but I'd love to introduce myself first so that you know who I am. My name is Cecil Mongo. I'm originally from Zimbabwe. It's in the southern Africa. I came here seeking for safety. I want to emphasize safety. I am speaking on behalf of most of asylum seekers and refugees. Where I come from, there is virtually no human rights. And if you voice up, they'll shut you up. This is the kind of politics that you get in that country. Because of the lack of human rights, I stood up. I started talking on behalf of the people. This did not go very well or go down very well with the people in the government. I tried to be a very brave man. I had to work against all the pressures until I could not take it anymore for myself. I felt like a coward for a minute that I'm doing this. I'm running away. But again, how does it help to be a hero when you're dead and you still want to help the people? I still believe that I still have the opportunity to help the people I left behind, because the situation is still terrible. Okay, my journey to America. It wasn't an easy path. It wasn't a straight up journey like I'm flying to America, I'm going to America. Like many people, I think Dr. Glick said a lot of things that really happens in people's lives from those kind of environments. I managed to make it to America. Yes, America on the map is a big country. You see a big country. But when I landed here, by the grace of God, America became the smallest country I can ever know, because I didn't know anybody. Sometimes you're like, what am I doing here? Probably I should have stayed, but you know you have done the right thing for that moment. Thank God. One of the officers who saw that I was so distressed, the immigration officer, took me aside and said, you know what, I understand what's going on. Actually, I was smelling, by the way. I had wounds all over my back. And gone for almost 2 days on the plane, if not 3 with other extra journeys I had to do to jump the border from Zimbabwe to South Africa. Surely it took his attention. So he says, no, where are you going? I said, I don't know. I've got no idea. But I'm sure I'll be okay. He says, you know what? Have you ever heard of Vive? I'm like, what is Vive? For a start, that's my first time to hear V-I-V-E. I've never heard of that. So I said, it's in Buffalo. Do you have enough money to get on a bus or a plane to Buffalo? I said, I'll be fine, I've got something. So he gave me an address. I got to Vive. looked at it from the outside. I'm like, oh, looks like a school. It looks like something. But guess what? They opened the doors for me. They welcomed me. They made sure I settled down. They made sure that I feel that I'm safe. I want to say something. My first shower, I couldn't take my shirt off like anybody else. Usually take clothes to take shower, but I had to go inside with my shirt so that it actually softens up and be able to peel it off my body. That was my journey. After staying there for some time, few days, weeks, and going on, I later learned that I wasn't the only one. Almost everybody in there, they've gone through such experiences. Some of us were fortunate, we made it to America. Some, they lost their husbands on the way to America. I think Dr. Gleck mentioned some of the horrendous and harrowing journeys they take. Some, they lost their wives. They lost their children. So when they talk to you, when they know, we had the habit of sharing. I think that's the only way we could bring out what was bothering. We share our stories among ourselves. And actually, Viva was very good at that, to make us become a family. It also gave us hope. Viva managed to make us hear or feel that we can actually make something in this country. We can restart. You know, I don't know, sometimes I try to be brave, but it becomes very emotional. Viva at that time, they were doing their best. Yeah, and we had donors, a lot of donors who were helping with the little they have for us to survive. So in other words, I'm trying to say it wasn't a bed of roses every day. Sometimes we have minimal of the food, but we were happy to get it. We had shelter. We were happy to have shelter. We were being clothed. Yes. And they made sure we get all the medical help we need. Like me, for instance, I got the medical help I needed. And as you can see, I look fine now. I look great because of Vivian. I feel it myself. I definitely feel it. I look great. Yeah. So for our papers and paperwork, Viva also came in hand with their legal team. They helped us. And again, as you can see, I'm here after so many years being in America. That means they did a good job. Jericho came in picture and took over Viva. And things changed. And by that time, I also got my papers. And that was my first job. I became their building manager. This, I think, they felt that they should do it because before they came in, I was literally the maintenance person there. I felt that's the way I can pay back to Viva. Why should they pay bills? When I can actually do that? By the way, I'm an electrical engineer and a person who's proud of using his hands. So literally, I can do a few things. So that's how I ended up doing it at Viva. And when Jericho came in, they also complimented my services by making me the building supervisor. This is Viva. Gave me hope, and I'm at it. After working for Viva, but I'm an electrical engineer in the industrial fraternity, I got a job. I don't know. from Turn On the Coke. I'm looking for somebody I think I might know here. Wow, he's not here. That was my dream, to be an engineer in the environment I know. The same Vive, Jericho, they supported me. They bought me tools, state of the art, and say, go and do what you know, what you like. And I worked for Turn On the Coke, where I met my employer, my boss. His name is Paul Safrin. He let me be who I am. I expressed myself, and I excelled. He also wanted to know who I was, and I told him. I told him about where I come from, and Vive. That got his attention, and I believe he's also doing something to help, which I'm proud of him. And today, I'm now in demand. Most companies are looking for me because it all started at Vive, who gave me hope. And I'm only saying my story. A lot of people there go back to Vive and say their stories. They've done very well because they got the support. They got the healing from Vive. And I believe it's still happening. Unfortunately, if we were all to come here, you'd spend hours and hours listening to everybody's testimony. But I believe my testimony stands for all of them. Vive did a good job and is still doing a good job. So now I was looking for a title that I got. That is the main campaign. But before I talk about it, I'd like to talk about people and thank them who have donated and who are still donating, and please don't stop doing it. We need you on behalf of asylum seekers and refugees. We believe your help has changed a lot of people's lives, but I don't believe, I know. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Cecil. Vive's ability to serve asylum seekers from around the world would not be possible without support from the Buffalo community, including the business community. Please join me in welcoming Eric Feldstein, Western New York Regional President and Head of Business Banking at M&T Bank.
Thank you, Cecil, and thank you, everyone. It's just truly humbling to be here this morning. And the story that Cecil's told and the thousands more that Jericho Road has positively impacted is why M&T Bank is truly proud to be here today. We have made a very large pledge that we will be announcing, and I strongly encourage our community, especially our region's business leaders, to join us, to share and support colleagues in our community such as Cecil. Right, this is truly the city of good neighbors, and I just strongly encourage members in our business community to join all of us in this journey in support of just the amazing work that this organization has done. So, as Cecil had said, better than I could have ever said, it's really patient by patient, family by family. This organization has truly created ripple effects to uplift our community. So we're very proud that for many years, M&T Bank has truly been a supporter of Jericho Road to make a difference in people's lives in Western New York. So with the charitable support, lending, ongoing collaboration, we've worked together to ensure that we meet the needs of our vital community. Yet there still are gaps to fill. So let's live up to our City of Good Neighbors reputation once again. Let's come together to further strengthen Buffalo as a city to take care of our neighbors. So M&T Bank is truly proud to be part of the community of advocates and organizations supporting our community, and I hope that you'll join us as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Eric. At this time, I'd like to premiere a Vive video that we have created in support of this campaign. I'd like to turn all of your attention to the screen to watch this video, and then I'll be back up shortly.
Some people lost everything. They lost even the family. But those kind of people, they need some people to take care about them. They need some love, so they can make them to be strong.
Vive is an asylum-seeking shelter here in Buffalo, New York. It became our part of Jericho Road in 2015. We provide food, shelter, programming, ESL, legal services, as well as medical services for the residents. A few years back, Jericho Road's leadership, we realized at the time that staying at 50 Wyoming just was not going to be an option for us. So we're so excited that we have 1500 Main Street to move into in the near future.
The whole reason why we're so passionate about this campaign and why we think it's so important to find a new home for Vive is because we want to have a place that's inviting, that when people walk in, they feel like, wow, they're treating us well. And I think our current building doesn't quite rise up to that standard.
One, the space itself is not trauma-informed. The lighting is not natural, it's not bright. There's not a lot of green space for our kiddos.
And so we want to design a building where, almost like a hotel, where folks can get the room that serves them best.
Our existing building has to separate the families between men's dorm and women's dorm. This new space is going to allow families to be together, mom, dad, and the kids, which is really, really exciting and really brings a more trauma-informed space for the folks that we're going to be serving.
We want to have a building that is more efficient to operate.
The plumbing has always been a challenge for us. Trying to make sure that the buildings stay cool or warm is a huge challenge for us because it used to be a school building. So when we think about 1500 Main Street, because it used to be an assisted living facility, and so the rooms are going to be set up in a very particular way, we can have the air kind of flow in a very particular way to be able to meet the needs of the residents living there.
Viva La Casa facility on Wyoming, it's a safe place for people escaping persecution. But there's really no place for privacy, like zero privacy. Sometimes families are separated. Singles live in barrack-style environments that I haven't seen since I was in boot camp. There's no place for a person that has been going through some tremendous upheaval and trauma to get away. These places of solitude.
But the vibe that you get when you go to the Bristol House is so welcoming.
The new environment will be a warm, family-friendly atmosphere where they'll truly feel like they have their own small residence within this great building.
There's a lot of light with these big windows, rooms for quiet reflection, for maybe talking to people.
The feeling of truly being in a home is about as close as you could ever accomplish, I think.
My name is Benoit Beno. I'm from the DRC, or Democratic Republic of Congo. At that time, the political situation was very, very bad, and I was obliged to escape from politicians. So it was important to save my life myself. Without Vive, I don't know how my life will be. I appreciate that everything that Vive did for me.
My name's Brunette. I'm from Congo. My life in Vive is it's amazing. Vive is taking care of our people. For where we come from, they don't need to ask you where you come from, why you come from. They just let you come.
As the largest asylum-seeking shelter in the nation, Vive serves a huge need across our country. And to reach our goal, we are now seeking the support of the community to help us reach the 2.8 million that's remaining in our goal.
I don't think there could have been a better building found.
It's going to be refurbished, so it's going to be a place of hope.
So many people are stepping up to help us do this important work.
Let's continue to be the city of good neighbors to the world.
Help pave a path to hope.
Help pave a path to hope.
Help pave the path to hope.
Help pave a path to hope.